Welcome, dear friends. Welcome to the ECOSOC Partnership Forum. The title of the event is Partnership, Successful Models and Critical Factors for Local Global SDG Impact. We are honored and delighted that you're here. My name is Tezkiah Gabriel. I am the Executive Director of Pathways to Peace. Pathways to Peace is a UN peace messenger organization in consultation with ECOSOC and the Department of Global Communications. Pathways to Peace works globally and locally, cross-culturally and intergenerationally to advance progress on Strategic Development Goals 16 and 17, the peace and partnership goals. For us, Goal 16, peace, while being one of the most underfunded of the SDGs, is the overarching SDG. Because if we can eliminate those barriers to peace as represented in the other SDGs, then peace will prevail on Earth. And we know we can't do it alone. So the partnership SDG goal 17 is so important, because we need to do the work together in partnership and collaboration. And the principles of peace and partnership are deeply rooted in the foundation of the UN. So I am here today with a distinguished group of partners, and you're in for a treat. And so let me begin to talk about those folks who are here in the room. We decided that we needed to showcase those models that were locally based, those models that were international, and those models that were national. And so we have all of those to share with you today. So first of all, I am happy to introduce my friend and colleague, David Wick, who will be talking about the Ashland Culture of Peace Commission. Our US national model, Police to Peace, is with Lisa Broderick. A global model that we're presenting is with Fred Arment of International Cities of Peace, and an international and intergenerational local global model with George Anthony. Another international model of which most of us here are engaged with is the Rotary E-Club of World Peace. And lastly, toward the end of our time together, we'll be hosting a presenter roundtable. And we also hope to address your questions before we conclude our time together. So the presenters' bios, including contact information, will be in the chat. And we hope that you will enter your questions in the chat too, so that we can address as many as possible. So that's what we're here today about. We hope to share some models, some success factors, and some ideas that might inspire you in your partnership endeavors. So we're going to begin, as we always do, with a pause for peace. The Peace Wave was established in 1984 with our beloved Avon Madison, the co-founder of Pathways to Peace, along with Robert Mueller of the United Nations. And it was 1 year after the unanimous resolution to establish the International Day of Peace. So they decided that it would be wonderful to open the UN with a pause for peace. And that's what inspired the Peace Wave. And so today around our globe, people at 12 noon in every time zone pause for a moment of silence, pause for a vision and to hold a vision for peace. So we'd like to take that minute now so we can open our hearts and our minds to these messages of peace. Thank you. Thank you. So it is my honor and pleasure to first introduce my colleague, David Wick, who is the co-founder of the Ashland Culture Peace Commission. And we're asking David to represent the commission as our local partnership model. David?
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here. What a treat to be with my great colleagues. And this is a significant gathering. And so I'm just delighted to have this opportunity to be able to also be here representing to ECOSOC. So I'm delighted. I'm going to talk about the Ashland Culture Peace Commission, which the basis of which came from my years of working with Pathways to Peace. I'll explain further. From their years of working with the NGO Pathways to Peace, David Wick and Irene Kai brought the seeds of the 1999 United Nations Resolution 53-243, the Declaration and Program of Action on the Culture of Peace, to Ashland, Oregon. After a significant community support initiative, the Ashland City Council's proclamation embracing and encouraging a culture of peace was unanimously approved on March 15, 2015. The Ashland Culture Peace Commission, ACPC, a citizens commission, was then launched on the community celebration on September 21, 2015. The United Nations identifies the culture of peace as a set of values, attitudes, traditions, modes of behavior, and ways of life. Our mission is to challenge and shift our individual and community attitudes and beliefs to a culture of peace. That's critical to be aware of. We believe that this will lead to a shift in mindset and behaviors, which will lead to systemic change. ACPC developed a peace infrastructure designed around 8 areas of peace of the Pathways to Peace Peace Wheel. They are religion, law, habitat, education, business, culture, science, and environment. To represent each of these areas, an Ashland citizen known to have interest and background in an area was invited to become an original commissioner. The vision of the Ashland Culture Peace Commission emerged as a community-wide movement dedicated to transforming our attitudes, behaviors, and institutions into ones that foster harmonious relationships with each other and the natural world. Cities are the societal and structural level where the culture of peace can develop sustained action and impact because they have the reach, authority, responsibility, and influence to set the positive tone and direction for so many people. Keeping that in mind, Fred Arment will really highlight this when he talks about the International Cities of Peace. For a 6-year period, we worked with the mayor and city council to help them learn what it means to become an international city of peace, and at times provided consultation. the Ashland Cultural Peace Commission has worked in partnership, again, partnership, with many members of our community, including the City Council, Ashland School District, the Homeless Shelter, the Ashland Police Department, Southern Oregon University, the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, the Ashland Climate Collaborative, and the Chamber of Commerce, among others. ACPC established initiatives such as community compassionate listening training and the Police to Peace program, which you'll hear shortly from Lisa Broderick, and brought the World Peace Flame from Wales. We became an international city of peace and read an invocation on peace to the Oregon State Senate. On September 21, 2018, we installed the World Peace Flame in Southern Oregon University campus, and it is only the second peace flame in the United States. 7th and 8th grade students from the Ashland Middle School have been the flame keepers of the World Peace Flame and keep it clean and refueled every Friday. These young students feel a great deal of pride that they contribute to world peace by learning how they create peace in their lives, in their families, schools, and the community. The United Nations Ambassador Anuruke Chaudhry, founder of the Global Movement for the Culture of Peace, came to Ashland to meet the student flamekeepers and to learn firsthand how ACPC partners with the city and community organizations. In addition, Ambassador Chaudhry came to be the keynote speaker at the ACPC Global Peace Conference on September 21, 2019. He learned about the vision of peace now being embraced by the Oregon state legislators, senators, the mayor, city council, and many of the leaders in the Ashland community. ACPC is still active in many of the initiatives mentioned above. The 3 primary strategic development goals focused upon by the Ashland Cultural Peace Commission are: number 9, the build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive, sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. Goal 11, make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. And 16, promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. The evolution of the culture of peace continues locally and globally, and within each one of us. We are each responsible. We each make it happen. It can be manifest in countless ways, irrespective of COVID-19. The culture of peace is primarily possible through partnerships, a vital component of this infrastructure of peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, David. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Lisa Broderick, who is going to share with us a very dynamic national model, Police to Peace.
Thank you, everyone. I'm going to share my screen, so I'm going to go off camera because I'm doing a bunch of things at the same time. And so let us do that. Always, exactly. So today I'm going to speak about something called the Peace Officer Promise. And so as we say, realizing the true purpose of policing. A little bit of background: Police to Peace is a national nonprofit, nonpartisan corporation formed to redefine and reimagine and advance policing on a national scale by envisioning police officers as peace officers, something that is very needed today. In essence, we're transforming American police culture using the peace officer as a framework for policing, because words matter, and getting the police to understand that engaging with the community is crucial for public safety. So a little bit of words about the problem. We're focused on police culture change today and always, because the public is demanding a less aggressive approach to public safety, and dissatisfaction with the police in many communities remains high. By now, many of you have heard, seen, or read of the beating of Tyree Nichols by police officers in Memphis, Tennessee, which led to his death. Right now in the US, the problem of community dissatisfaction with the police is high. After the George Floyd murder and now after the beating of Tyree Nichols, the unquestionable demand for police reform exists, and calls to defund the police alongside calls to transform them are all together. But what they're really talking about, we believe, is that significant police cultural change needs to occur. No law or policy would have stopped what happened in Memphis or in Minneapolis. That was a culture, and every profession has a culture. So these horrific incidents weren't failures of policy or laws. Laws are in place to prohibit what happened, and police departments have policies, so why did they happen? Well, as we see it, to get anyone in any profession to act the right way is not something you can legislate or mandate. Compelling them to do so doesn't work. And so even if you could, compulsion can't be sustained over a long period of time. So what do? We think the solution is this. You have to find a way to instill in people of all professions that there are things with which they should do, which they desire to do, and which they want to do. And that leads us to our sustainable development goal, which is peace, justice, and strong institutions. So our model is one of police community engagement. This is an actual photo from one of our police agencies, where together the two groups co-produce public safety around what we call the true purpose of policing. That's why I said before, getting the police to understand and engage with the community is crucial for public safety. Without the community's consent and involvement, there is no public safety. Think about that for a minute. If a society does not consent and agree and abide by laws, there is no public safety. And compulsion doesn't work. People must want to, just as the police must want to. So our partnership model is called the Peace Officer Promise. The Peace Officer Promise is like medicine's Hippocratic Oath, except it's for the police. The promise helps police agencies around the nation build trust and confidence by making a public reaffirmation of their commitments to serve and protect. In the US, every police officer takes an oath about upholding the Constitution and protecting the people of their communities. But the promise is different because the promise is made from the police to the communities. The promise states, we, the members of, you'll insert the name of the agency, promise that while doing our best to control crime, we'll do everything in our power to do no harm to the communities we serve and protect. Right now, we have hundreds of police agencies who have engaged with us around the promise, mostly in the US, but some international. And it's interesting that according to research of the 50 states, 71% of states use only the term peace officer when referring to police officers. And many countries around the world see the same. So we see the peace officer model as the natural evolution of policing. As you can see, this is policing in the United States, growing from the first East Coast Police Department all the way up to peace officer. Now, there is some resistance to transforming police departments, getting the mindset of peace. I'm sure we all know that. This is about a mindset issue. You can't compel someone for peace. So resistance by some people to feel, to work, to act, to want this way of being. So in the past, we've heard, isn't this what police already do? Yes, and then there's another incident like Memphis. So other issues are the nature of policing in America. In other countries in the world, mostly the government controls the police and there's one single police department. Here in the US, there are more than 16,000 individual police departments of all kinds, local police, campus police, county sheriffs, constables, tribal, each with its own police leader. And these police leaders have tremendous influence over the department's policies and procedures. Again, back to policies and procedures, right? That's why our national model of the Peace Officer Promise is designed to help all police, big, small, rural, and urban. So how do we begin? It's a daunting problem. How many departments are there? It's not just one. We begin by considering the implications of what we're doing. And working with David Wick in Ashland and the Ashland Police Department, we did all of these things. We considered the implications of what peace officer would mean. We consult with community stakeholders. We're co-producing public safety. We're selecting goals that accompany making the promise or becoming a peace officer organization. Convening a community advisory group. Developing ways to publicly share and announce the promise so people know about it. And share the promise with stakeholder groups. This is how we begin. So why do this? Well, you know, it betters community members' lives. I guess that's the only thing I can say. I'm a little speechless because of what we've all seen, that would exist today in 2023. that there would be some sort of mindset where that was okay, but it's not okay. And so this betters community members' lives, which is what all of us should be about and what public safety is about. In some ways, public safety is public health. A safe public is a healthy public, right? And so it advances rightful policing. What is rightful policing? Constitutionally correct policing. Policing that treats everyone as though they are equal under the law, which they are, regardless of any aspect of them that one might see. And rightful policing is policing that, as we say, is effective, empathetic, and just. I don't know anybody who doesn't want that. Even if they wanted to fund the police, they want those three things. And so the way to operationalize rightful policing is by embodying the peace officer and peace officer promise within your community. So as the last bit of advice, this is a QR code in case someone wanted to learn more about Police to Peace. I thought that would be helpful. But as the last bit of advice, to change policing in America to policing that's effective, empathetic, and just is a huge undertaking. But just because it's a huge problem doesn't mean we shouldn't try. Look who is on this call today and look at the United Nations, what their goal is. So I'll quote from Lyndon Johnson: "Peace is a journey of 1,000 miles, and it must be taken one step at a time." Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Tez.
Thank you, Lisa. That was wonderful. Yes, and again, we're putting bios and contact information in the chat for each of our partners at this table to learn more about the partnership models that they're putting in front of you. And now, again, I am going to turn to one of our amazing global models, international models, with Fred Arment, the International Cities of Peace. Fred?
Yes, thank you, Tezekiah. It's wonderful to be with everybody, and I'm going to kind of do a loop here. David talked about local, but he's really international. He's just speaking about local tonight. Lisa is national, but she's really local because that's where the police forces need the most help. So International Cities of Peace is about transformation. I bring best wishes from nearly 400 member cities of peace in over 70 nations on 6 continents. And I'm astounded that we've reached that temporary goal. We're headed to 1,000, by the way, 1,000 cities of peace worldwide. Our main program is International Cities of Peace. It's an all-volunteer, altruistic, and I had to look that up. But anyway, it's altruistic. It is about peace from the heart, from the head, and from the soul. So it's a practical organization mostly. We help peace leaders and peace teams around the globe to establish their specific communities as cities dedicated to peace. And the central ICP organization is small because it's the global organization of cities of peace that's large. The central organization is a cooperative, much like an industry trade association, such as education or steel or something like that, with member cities of peace that are focused on their own specific needs, their own solutions. In 2009, we began with a very expansive definition of peace: the global consensus values of safety, prosperity, and quality of life for everyone in the community. And that definition has made all the difference. It has enabled all countries, all cultures and spiritual paths, as well as all economic and governance systems to participate in what is a community by community effort to localize what David Wick was talking about, the UNESCO culture of peace, localizing a culture of peace. And by that way, we enter the realm of global peace. And I'm very not only astounded by the growth we've had, but it's a profound opportunity that we all have in our humbleness to develop a city of peace within our locality. And I'm especially honored to be addressing the members and friends of the United Nations body for this very particular reason. You know, partnerships are the core of International Cities of Peace. Our mission is to achieve world peace through practical and profound community transformation. And at the core of community transformation is one essential concept that is easy to understand, but difficult, very difficult to put into practice: respect. A single word tells the essence of why International Cities of Peace has grown to hundreds of member cities of peace around the globe: respect. Instead of the top-down approach of many non-governmental organizations, and all non-governmental organizations have a vast potential and a vast track record for doing good things. But International Cities of Peace ask what actions are most important for increasing the safety, prosperity, and quality of life in your own particular community. We respect local knowledge. We offer a powerful global platform that empowers local peace leaders. And we simply provide the essential tools to increase volunteerism, to increase the impact. So peacemakers gain influence and authority within their communities. Now, there's a lot of areas of this world, including our own. There's no community that's 100% a city of peace. But the people who have the influence and the people who have the authority are not necessarily peacemakers, as we know. So we are lifting up the peacemakers to have authority within their community. When a City of Peace liaison, a leader with International Cities of Peace speaks, the media pays attention and they are asked, well, we have a problem here. How would you deal with it? And then the peace leaders have the authority to actually make a difference in their community. So each City of Peace develops action plans, and that outline the practical strategy to achieve a specific goal. Our network enables solid ideas to essentially go viral, even though I'm not crazy about that word, but it transforms beyond the borders. So this is true partnership we're talking about here. And I'd like to show you just a little bit. I'm going to share screen for just a moment. Sorry. So it looks like my my share screen is not working so well, but I don't have to share screen. As you know, as you can see, I like to talk. So therefore, I'm going to tell you about what I was going to show you. Picture speaks 1,000 words, but I can do that too. In Africa, the leaders of Kanani, Uganda, have developed golden rule training. Everyone knows what the golden rule is. It's a profound ancient ethic. And they've developed golden rule training for children and adults throughout Africa, and they're working that now. There are people in Africa who are creating manufacturing companies for creating shoes, for manufacturing shoes. It's extensive. It's vast and quite diversified. In Asia, the UNESCO Chair of Peace Studies, who contacted us 5 years ago in Nanjing, China, coordinated COVID mini grants for 33 cities of peace in 6 African countries. The first journal of peace studies in China was published just a few months ago from Nanjing University, a city of peace. In South America, a city-to-city collaboration for ICP Americas launched the International Festival of Hearts and Smiles for involving children, and in 4 different cities in Brazil and Peru. In Europe, peace leaders in Aalborg, Denmark, recently met with 3 City of Peace leaders in the heart of Africa. And one of them was the one that launched the shoemaking manufacturing process. Safety, prosperity, quality of life. That entails everything we need if everyone has those 3 for global peace. So there's many more. Moncton, Canada, Connecticut in the United States, Guerrero State in Mexico, on and on, Busan, South Korea. The partnerships created from our city-to-city collaborative program have resulted in a web of cooperative efforts between localities, countries, regions, and continents. So cities of peace around the world are implementing practical initiatives, sustainable agriculture, land preservation, mediation of regional disputes before they become larger disputes, advances in climate, hunger, and poverty issues, making measurable progress on all 17 goals of the Sustainable Development Goals. So the Association of the International Cities of Peace is growing to 1,000 member cities of peace, not by outside interference, but by a web of partnerships based on respect and the human desire to take care of one's own community. And once these peace initiatives begin, the work does not stop. The volunteerism continues as sure as a father and mother will work for the betterment of their children. World peace is possible, and community by community, partnership by partnership. So please contact me directly if you haven't seen what International Cities of Peace can do. I respect each person who's on this call and the organizations that are on this call. And thank you for listening, Tezekiah.
Thank you so much, Fred. And now it is my honor to introduce my dear colleague and friend and partner, George Anthony, who's going to talk about a local, global, intergenerational partnership, the Global Youth Mentorship Program. George?
Thank you, Tez, and thank you, esteemed guests who are joining us today. It's good to see a great circle of peace builders. It's powerful, and it's a great space. It's something that I think it's something that we do very powerfully in. As peace builders, we know each day presents us with the opportunities to fill our educational organizational spaces with the skill training, with the tools to build programs that create a better world for our young and as well as our intergenerational leaders. But it's really based on peace in action. It's based on a model. And what I want to do is show you or present that model that we've been very effective. We brought this training to all five continents, to Rwanda, to Amsterdam, to Japan, to Palestinian territories, to Israel. It's been successful, and of course here in the United States. It's been successful with so many organizations. Pathways to Peace has been involved in. And so this is just a continuation. The Global Mentorship Program is based on really providing the tools and the trainings so our young people can build a better world. And let me give you an example of what that looks like. So I'm going to pull this up. And move this here. So Pathways to Peace Global Men is an intergenerational peace building. We have to bring everyone into the table. We all work together, and that's the key. So it's based on, just want to move things around so I can see. Just give me a moment. All right. So the Pathways to Peace Global Youth Mentorship Program serves to provide peace building leadership skill sets and training opportunities for young individuals in order to engage the United Nations, UN, NGOs, providing solutions in support of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. It's key. We've developed a team of youth peace builders that engage with other youth organizations in dialogue, peace building, community building, global peace, and leadership. Again, it's peace in action. We move our students from the classroom into their communities, into their families on a local, global, national level. We established a global mentorship outreach team of established peace builders to play supportive roles to our young leaders in project development. Pathways to Peace will connect with UN NGOs and other organizations, develop peace building projects, will receive training and sustainable peace building strategies implemented in schools. Right now, I'm working with a school in Red Bank, New Jersey, and soon we'll be working with a school in the Republic of Guinea, again, implementing the Global Leadership Mentorship Program. To align, we work with organizations such as PeaceDynamics.com, Red Bank Catholic Global Institute, and Learn, Lead, and Serve that works with humanitarian and civil rights leadership. We also established a coordinating team to bring together intergenerational leaders. We work with instructional videos because our young people live on social media. So our videos are really impactful in regards to assisting in the training. All right, we created a digital network of resources. Through the Global Institute, the training involves, we could develop communication and social skills. We can't just expect our kids to know. I mean, oftentimes when my students present and they do their trainings, people say, wow, they are amazing. And I say, yes, they're amazing, but we worked real hard to create this product, this generational leader that can sort of move and create a better world for all of us. Learn effective leadership skills for global environments. Acquire mediation negotiation skills for certification and conflict transformation and management. This is the training they receive. Work with collaborative teams, learning to build trusting, sustainable relationships. We develop critical thinking skills, especially in this world with so much misinformation. We hone their public speaking skills with an emphasis on presentation, effective questioning techniques. We use Mediascape technology so we can come into classrooms around the world so we can train not just locally, but globally. And the students learn United Nations protocols and establish committee memberships. And this is it. Students are out there. They're in the world. They're creating workshops. They're meeting. They're networking. And they sort of, what we say, they take ownership of their skills. They create workshops. We cultivate them. We polish their workshops. We give them platforms specifically in many UN conferences where they can hone those skills. This is last year at CSW 66, where these were sophomores, 15-year-old students who did intergenerational trainings in gender roles, the effects of natural and disaster pandemics, the domestic burden on girls. And this was something, again, these girls worked extremely hard. They had ownership, and they moved this workshop, not just from CS 66, but they brought this workshop into their communities, again, on a local and a global level. Another workshop was, again, by my 16-year-old students. This is the Education of Women and Girls and Climate Change, CSW 66, where we brought our own Marlenis Rosa, our UN esteemed representative, and Kimberly Washiel, where they worked with these young girls to establish these dynamic programs. This is 67, United Nations Commission for Status Women 67, Red Bank Catholic, will now be utilizing a workshop, Equality Through Innovative Technologies for Global Education. And we're bringing 5 young students and developing this workshop, and they will be presenting this coming March 14th. So we give them the platform, and that's where they find their voice, where we provide these opportunities where they can create these programs and cultivate them. Starting March, February 15th, we'll be working with the Republic of Guinea on peace education and leadership, building peaceful school communities. And this is just a stepping stone. We hope to work with many organizations in Africa. I know we have an esteemed representative here today, Gerald, who is representing an esteemed program from Uganda. And I think we're going to have more conversations moving forward. Thank you, Gerald, for joining us today. And I want to thank Tezekiah, and Tezekiah and I were working with this program moving forward. If you're interested in learning more about it, where we can bring these programs into your communities, please contact us at this at George Anthony Ford at AOL, or visit my website at peacedynamics.com or pathwaystopeace.org. Just want to thank John DeJugajan of Grow Marketing, who was able to put this workshop together for me, this PowerPoint, and I'm appreciative of the partnerships that I developed with local organizations moving our message forward.
Thank
So,
you, George.
You're welcome, Tez. So in essence, what you just saw was peace in action by cultivating our young people moving forward into the world. I'm sure if you have any questions, I'll be here to join and take them shortly. Thank you, Tez.
Thank you, George. George, as you all, or many of you know, is just a master at working with our next generation peace builders, our youth. And we try to integrate the youth voice into everything we do. And George is just a champion of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tez. I just want to say it's really based on building partnerships. And
Yes.
this consortium we have here today, Rob Schmidt of Think Greener, LLC, these are people who are going to move these partnerships forward. And I'm excited to sort of be a part of that conversation. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, George. And so in addition to the presentations made earlier, both David and Lisa are presidents of the Rotary E-Club of World Peace. And so I'm going to bring back both Lisa and David as current leaders of the Rotary E-Club of World Peace to talk about a little bit about that huge model of the Rotary E-Club of World Peace. Lisa and David, you want to come back?
Very good. Well, thank you very much. And I'll go ahead and begin. And the Rotary E-Club of World Peace is a perfect example of all of us coming together. And most of the presenters here are also members of the Rotary E-Club of World Peace. And this is a place where we synthesize, we weave together what we bring into a broader reach out into the world, and we learn. This is a place of learning and sharing. It's really fantastic. So let me give you a little background on the Rotary E-Club of World Peace, and I'm immediate past president of the Rotary E-Club, and a little background on it. The Rotary International was present at the inception of the United Nations in 1945. And was one of only 42 organizations invited to serve as consultants to the U.S. delegation to the UN Charter Conference in San Francisco. Throughout that process, Rotary members served as delegates, advisors, and consultants, guiding agendas, drafting resolutions, and helping to resolve disputes between delegates. Rotary has engaged in the United Nations ever since.
Thank you, David. And so established after the Rotary World Peace Conference in 2016, the Rotary E-Club of World Peace has brought together, again, experts, leaders, and passionate citizens interested in learning about sharing solutions to the major issues we face today. Today, under the Rotary umbrella, the organization of 1.4 million members in 35,000 clubs over 200 countries around the world, the Rotary E-Club of World Peace provides peace building, leadership, inspiring new ways of thinking and action.
And I'd also like to note that on our call today is the key founder of the Rotary E-Club of World Peace, Rudy Westervelt. So Rudy, thank you for being here and launching us on this journey. The Rotary E-Club World Peace has a local global mission, provides peace building services in many ways. The mission states, together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting peace. That's what I have right here. Across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. By connecting leaders and conflict resolution experts with solutions to create the culture of peace, the Rotary E-Club of World Peace initiatives aim to bring about more peaceful societies through its ability to convene and mobilize locally to affect global change.
And just about its members. So the members of this club work in collaborative partnerships and use local and global resources to support their activities and initiatives. To help improve our lives and the communities around the world, Rotary significantly supports all 17 Sustainable Development Goals, not just one. So several examples of service partnership models exhibited by the Rotary E-Club World Peace are as follows.
So one is global grants, and the Rotary Club projects that support education about and the practice of peace building and conflict prevention around the globe are eligible for global grants from the Rotary Foundation. Global grants support large international activities and sustainable measurable outcomes in Rotary's areas of focus. The Rotary E-Club of World Peace participates, as is being said here, in 3 global grants, which are fully dependent on collaborative partnerships. One is with a health and awareness screening ban in Bangladesh, where they do eye screening, cancers like breast and cervical, ovarian, and uterus cancers. And so it has a mobile ability to move into the community. Another is a decentralization of mental health. And this is at again in Bangladesh. And this effort is able to move to and reach people in 56 villages within this region of Bangladesh. Another example is with the Bhutan forest restoration, where they're doing a great deal of replanting and restoring the forest that has been decimated in the past for future life and helps the planet overall. So these are all vital areas that we're focused on. There's another one in an eye hospital. It has a global grant that we're part of in India. This is right here. And this is tremendously important because there's so many resources that people cannot get to otherwise. So again, the Rotary E-Club and Rotary at large reaches out to the world in a very powerful and effective manner.
And not only that, as we talk about peace, we have a project, Rotarians Meditating for World Peace. And Tammy Briggs, one of our own members, a therapeutic harpist. What happens is we meditate in silence, and Tammy plays the harp so beautifully, intermittently to help. It helps us stay focused and in a high vibration of peace and love. We focus on world peace and all are welcome. Meditating in community is one way to contribute to world peace, and these meditations are powerful. For your information, the next one is Monday, February 6th at 8 p.m. Eastern, and we'll put some information in the chat.
Great. And again, a big focus that we have is the International Cities of Peace. And Brian and Lisa Berman on either side, the woman in the middle here, they have been pioneers in working with Fred Arment and others to create an international city of peace. And a great example of that is in Ojai, California. And actually, Lisa and Brian, they went to Poland, they're in Prague, to work with the refugees coming from Ukraine. I mean, so they're just deeply dedicated, but a big legacy that they have done is really establishing cities of peace that are in Ojai, but it's really spreading the word, and many people have been inspired by this.
And in addition, we are working with orphanages. This is another program brought on by a member, Mumsy's CRF, supporting thousands of children, mostly in Africa. Today, they're supporting children all over in Africa as well as the USA with 12 orphanages in Cameroon and Illinois and Kenya and various villages within Africa.
And again, reaching out into the world, this is one of the key factors of having a virtual club, an e-club of world peace in Kathmandu, Nepal. One of our members, Sandesh Bidari, he has been a leader working with young people for really quite a few years and has made a major impact on the youth that are growing up, their identity, and again, a perfect example of how we work together in partnership to have global impact.
So what might be some lessons learned? Well, it's interesting having such a local, global activity at the same time. Some barriers and issues include the fact that we're both virtual and not on the ground, right? So we're doing on-the-ground projects, but we're managing them virtually and stimulating them virtually. That can be a barrier because people may not be interested in something that's not in their home or in their town or in their neighborhood. But it's also an opportunity because we have global reach. The challenge then is this question: how does a partnership model be both local and global at the same time? Our answer is simple. It's to be a virtual service club, which we are, which consistently focuses its members on both at the same time. David, are you frozen?
I think he is.
Well, will it unfreeze David? Here we go. Nope,
Go
I think we
ahead.
lost him. All right, I'll just finish off.
Yes.
So we want advice and proven practices. Advice and proven practices learned through our work is that the convenience of virtual is our strength. It brings together highly skilled, passionate members to mount local and international resources, which a single local presence could never do. It would never be able to deliver the type of impact that we do. In this way, we're attuned with the UN and working within the UN vision to maintain a culture of peace. And thank you so much, everybody. I'll stop sharing my
Thank you.
screen.
Thank you. I'm sure David will be coming back in before our roundtable. So Lisa, David, thank you for your leadership, and thank you for your leadership at the Rotary E-Club of World Peace, of which most of us as presenters, as partners here today, are members. So thank you. And I just want to pause for a moment and say how extraordinary it is to have these 5 presenters that are presenting their partnership models, and how extraordinary each of those presentations is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. From the bottom of our collective heart, thank you. And of course, we're not done, because we have an upcoming partnership roundtable, and we will have time to take your questions if you put your questions in the chat. But before we go there, I thought it would be helpful, because we know that each of you have your own partnership models, or that you're thinking about a partnership or a collaboration that you'd like to institute, either locally, globally, nationally, that you are in the process of partnering and collaborating, or would like to. And so I'm going to take just a moment and talk a little bit about collaboration. So just a definition, as well as a few factors in successful collaboration. Whoops, wrong slideshow. There we go. Thank you so much, Katie. So first of all, let's look at a working definition. It's hard to collaborate or partner if we don't have a shared definition. So this is one that comes out of a research project, one of the few research projects on successful collaborations. It's called Collaboration: What Makes It Work? A review of research literature on factors influencing successful collaboration by the Amherst H. Wilder Foundation. So this is a working definition. Collaboration is a mutually beneficial and well-defined relationship entered into by 2 or more organizations to achieve common goals. And I always say that what makes collaboration unique is really that we can't do it alone. That to be able to accomplish a common goal, we need to be able to come together in a mutually beneficial, again, important, well-defined relationship, which usually means a documented relationship, or at least a shared understanding, entered into 2 or more organizations to achieve those common goals. And the relationship in collaboration, the relationships include a commitment to a definition of mutual relationships and goals, a jointly developed structure and shared responsibility, mutual authority and accountability for success, and the sharing of resources and rewards. I think that mutual authority and accountability for success and a sharing of resources and rewards is really significant. So let's talk about a few factors, certainly not an inclusive list. And what's important, probably the most significant factor in effective collaboration, is really creating and maintaining equity. because that's where you will get the mutually beneficial result. So full participation and involvement in decision-making as early as possible. So collaboration doesn't mean that bringing in other partners as an afterthought when you get to implementation. It really means that you're shaping and informing that project from the beginning together. Good facilitation that affirms and values all voices, and that monitors full participation and inclusion. If nothing else, when we gather, we need to be able to affirm that all voices are valued and full participation, both body and voice, are important if we're going to come up with a successful collaborative outcome. The strategic and meaningful exercises that build trust and respect among members. Again, what is important about this is we all know that successful collaborations are made up of successful relationships. But how we get to that means that we have to allow some time to be able to build that trust, to be able to build those relationships. And that means that we're going to embark on some sort of trust building exercises, but they always must be directly related to the goal. It no longer works to go to Colorado and jump on a raft and paddle together down the white water and come out as a team. Instead, we really need to have the kind of relationship building that directly relates to our compelling goal. Establish documented and agreed upon expectations for participation. Develop a documented agreement to ensure full member support and understanding of the foundation of the collaboration. This is where we talk about our values and norms, and creating a collaborative culture that affirms and supports diversity. We're not looking for full agreement. We're looking for everyone to bring their difference to the table so that it can then be incorporated into the best possible outcome. And establish agreed upon norms for decision-making, conflict resolution, and conflict management. And now it's time for our partnership roundtable. And I've put together some questions for our partners. Very excited about this. Can't wait to hear what folks have to say. So maybe we'll begin with what's the benefit of implementing one or more of these partnership programs? And who'd like to start? What's the benefit? Is somebody talking and can't hear you? There
David,
you are. David, you have to unmute. Can't unmute, he says. Okay, let's unmute him, Katie. Where I can. Yes, we got it. We'll help.
Okay, got it. Good,
There
good,
you
good.
go.
Well, I would say the benefit is look on the screen right now. I mean, this is what this is one of the results of coming together, working together. A major one is that having opportunities that we never even thought about, or ideas or expertise. Fred's got expertise and knowledge I have no clue about, or vice versa, or with you, Hezekiah. Oh my gosh. And so working together, and I think the challenge is we have so many. I'd say one of the challenges in the E-Club is we have so many people that do have great experience and expertise, is really focusing in on what are one or two areas that we can all focus in on, and that so that would be one of the challenges. But that's my thought.
Others, what are the benefits?
I'll throw something in just nationally and internationally, and that is the sum of the part, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Because when you start to add these programs together, and so let's say Police to Peace goes into a city, and then they become a city of peace, and then they're doing global youth mentoring, and then they do on and on and on because they're inspired. The impact, the ripple effect is much greater than one program itself, or much greater than each of the programs individually. And it really transforms a community. We may often hear, I use it all the time, the whole of community approach. We're using that right now for many things in the United States. But what is that? It's where people from all stakeholder groups, all ages, all parts of society and a community come together in order to create something together. And that's the power of partnership.
Perfect. Thank you.
It brings me
George?
back. Yeah, it brings me back when I was doing a training for Israeli and Palestinian youth. And I remember after one of the coexistence trainings, a young Palestinian youth came up to me and said, literally said, "Where have you been my whole life? My whole life, I've only been taught this first, go to violence first. And you were the first one who taught me that I have choices, that you gave me choices." And those choices, well, became a part of his life. He went on later to become the head of the educational program at Seeds of Peace. But it's just the idea, I think what I mentioned before, when we fill these empty spaces with training, with skills, and then we give these young people the opportunity to create these positive changes in their homes, in their schools, in their communities, and again on a global level. It's transformational, and this is important. And of course, David brought it up. Look at this group here. We have Joe Nasasira. It's 3 o'clock in the morning in Uganda. 3 o'clock in the morning, and he is. What you talk about devotion to peace and to creating peaceful communities, that in itself is part of that conversation. But we are all peace builders here. We always say, as I say to you, there's always more to do. Peace building is a work in progress, and there's more work to do. And we can't do it alone. That's a fact. And that's why we come together to work together. I can't do what I do without the assistance of Marlenis Rosa. It's impossible. It's just too much work. And that's why we come together to do this type of work, to create that change we wish to see in the world. And then to pass it on to our young people who will then carry that message forward.
Yes, and George, every one of the Pathways to Peace youth mentorship programs are done in partnership with other major people and organizations. So your work around partnership is extraordinary. So, and Fred, is there anything you'd like to add about the benefit?
Yeah, I think that in today's world, the drift away from democracy to authoritarianism, the idea that the higher echelon, the people with the most money, all of these things, we all know that those kind of qualities are an emanation of our lack of partnerships. You know, when we find someone that wants to establish a city of peace in their community, it starts with 1, and then it goes to 2, then it goes to 5. And then all of a sudden they start realizing that, oh, the Rotary Club. And then they realize that, oh, the library. And then it's the school system and the children. And all of a sudden, the community entirely becomes a partnership. And it's an amazing, profound experience for people to become a city of peace, because we don't understand that we are dwelling in partnerships right now. And when it becomes a profound experience for these people creating cities of peace, they're astounded. They say, oh my God, look at all these people coming into this process. Everyone is working for peace. And I don't care, you can look at all the violence in the world and you can say, well, that's not true. But it is true. Everyone wants their children to be safe and their family to be prosperous and have a quality of life. And I would, everywhere around the world, every country and every culture wants to have a culture of peace. And right now we're in this delusion that we are individuals and there's other people over there and over there and over there. But that's this divisive idea that is absolutely not true. Partnerships are the key because they already exist. All we have to do is be aware.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hezekiah, you have a hand up.
Yes, I know. I'm wondering if, I'm so grateful that you're willing to ask a question, but if you could hold your questions until after the roundtable, then we will take all participant questions. But you can keep your hand up, and we're delighted to see you. So the second question that I would ask the group to respond to is, how do these programs work together? I've already said in the beginning that all of us have that we're in partnership with each other in one way, shape, or form. And so how do they really work together? And who would like to speak to that? I know,
guess,
Lisa,
You want me? I can start. Tess?
good, George.
Yeah. I'll give you an example. I brought my students to the UN to a subcommittee meeting it was a International Day of Peace subcommittee meeting on refugees, supply to refugees. And the students sat, they heard the issues that are going on. And most of the issues were parents were concerned about how am I going to continue my education for my students? And but that was the biggest thing. My children are refugees. They're in a foreign country. They're in either Greece or Turkey, and the education has stopped. And how do I get them to an educational basis? So I said to my 14-year-old students, what solutions do you have? And they literally, I wish if I had a minute, I could throw up a video. They created what was called the Global Educational Toolkit. This was a toolkit that was created by 14, 15-year-old students that was designed to give lessons to anyone in the world who wanted to continue their education K through 12. And so they created it, and then through our partnership with Pathways to Peace, we created the website Prep for Peace, which was then shown at the United Nations at the following International Day of Peace the year after. And then it was then supported by Pathways to Peace in its continuation throughout the world. So thousands upon thousands of young people, parents, students, teachers, all benefited from this website that was designed. And it was just a simple idea of just backing away, letting students create that digital learning board, and then giving it to the world. And our partnership with Pathways to Peace created that bridge to the United Nations, to the world, so people can sort of be impacted by education, by continuing their education, by accessing this digital learning board.
Thank you. Thank you, George. Would anyone else like to respond to that question about how these programs work together? You mean these?
Well, I did mention earlier, and so David started the Ashland Culture of Peace and then brought in Police to Peace, and now it's an International City of Peace. I think it's quite, and Fred said the same thing, it snowballs. That's how the programs work together. Once a community does one thing, they won't stop there. They'll want to do something else, and to provide them a steady stream of programs so that they can transform themselves to peace is how these programs work together.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and once those relationships have been established, there's momentum to take on the next program for peace.
Yeah, it's very difficult to stop an idea whose time has come.
That's right, George. So how might participants make one or more of these programs a reality in their community? Any thoughts about that? I know we have your contact information in the chat, but what would you like to say to participants on this video about bringing one or more of these programs forward? Yes, David. I don't know why he's not able to unmute. There you go, David.
Yeah, yeah. Anyhow, well, one of the things that we began with Ashland, and the very beginning of the Ashland Culture Peace Commission, we partnered with a couple key people in the community who are really, focused on peace and peace building. And we talked for a couple of years about what this could look like and who to engage with and so it really is starting to find out what already exists in the community that is aligned with, peace building, and the people that are really saying yes, and then coming out with an idea, a suggestion such as the culture of peace. It was based on pathways to peace and the peace wheel, and having an image that really captured, peace, what that can look like, really helped a lot to help bring it out of just the conceptual to what it can really be formulated. But it's starting to engage the people who are already focused in this arena and bringing them together, which is really big. But it's also being bold. It's saying, okay, I'm going to take a step. I can do this. One person, find another person who's aligned with it and go for it. And this is the time for all of us to be bold in the world. The world needs all the support that we can bring to it in the many forms. So anyhow, that's a thought. It's just, starting where it naturally exists and then inspiring other people.
Well,
Thank
and
you.
I'll follow on with that, and that is I'll put something in the chat and then share my screen. Most of us here who are beyond a local organization have a way to sign up. This is an actual police
Thank
department taking the Hippocratic Oath for Policing, which we wrote, and which is a bold thing to do. And so you go online and you go here and you press Peace Officer Promise. I just had a major American city do this today. Right. And so as we sign on cities, just like Fred is signing on for the International Cities of Peace, we're signing people up for the Peace Officer Promise, the Hippocratic Oath for Policing. Do these things. It's all online. Bring it to your community. So many of us have operationalized the way to do this to make it easy for anyone.
Yes. And Lisa, it causes me to remember the World Peace Treaty. That was a collaboration with Pathways to Peace, the E-Club, the Rotary E-Club of World Peace, and Police to Peace.
Yes.
So check that out to sign the World Peace Treaty, something you can do now in anticipation of the International Day of Peace. So I'd like to ask you for just a few words or a sentence to kind of close out our roundtable so we can take participant questions. So what advice would you give to participants about how to bring peace to their community broadly?
I'll jump in if that's okay.
Good, perfect.
Yeah. So I believe there's over 7 billion ways to peace.
Yes.
I think that's the key. Everybody has something they're doing, whether it's being a mother or being a nurse or being a police officer or a peace officer. It's everything that we do, Gandhi said, there's much more peace in this world than violence. And that's absolutely true. We just have to realize that what we're doing already is the seeds of community peace. So that's why we in each individual city of peace gets a web page, and they tell about the vision, mission, and goals, and they tell about what they're doing. We have a focus, a highlight area where it tells what they're doing. And it's surprising that so many people are working for peace and not really realizing that that's the seeds of community peace. That's
Perfect. One or two words or a sentence.
for me.
No, you were great. The rest of our panel.
I think
George?
I think it's important that we bring voices to the table. Young, old, middle-aged, it doesn't matter, but bring the voices to the table, especially for our young people, provide them with the tools, and the tools mean the skill training to sort of create that change they wish to see in the world. One of the things we believe in, and we often say one of our mantras, is to stand up for those who stand alone and give you voices to those voices who are silent. When we give our children purpose, then they have purpose. We need to then support them in that purpose. But bring the voices to the table. There are so many great voices out there, so many great organizations, but you need to sort of connect to them and then create that better world. You just can't do it alone. And that's so important.
Perfect. Thank you.
Well, I think I'll follow on from George and from Fred, and that is, I said it earlier, and that is, just because it's a huge problem doesn't mean we shouldn't fix it, right? In fact, the hugest problem should be fixed. Peace is built one day at a time, one action at a time, one heart and mind at a time. So with the biggest problems in the world, that's how we start. Don't be daunted just because it's a big problem.
And I would also add that the world is in transition, major transition everywhere, every part of it. You know, and look at our own lives, our own cities, our own communities, and it's all evolution. And the role that we play in presenting a positive direction, a hope, is huge, is really huge. And I've had numerous people say, "Thank goodness you're here. Thank goodness you're giving the message," because people, it can be overwhelming. You know, look at the news. But so whatever we can do, it counts. Every one of us, no matter how little we think it is, it really counts.
Thank you. Thank you, David. And so it is time for audience questions. And I'm seeing in the chat, and I'd love to hear your voice. Nilab, I'm probably pronouncing your name wrong, but let's unmute everyone. Hang on a minute so that we can hear you.
Hello, everybody. Do you have my voice?
Yes, we have your voice. Perfect.
I'm very happy to join you, and you're very experienced people who are very younger than me. I'm an Afghan girl who is working for peace, and I have started my campaign about disarmament for real peace. And on Sundays, I'm going to streets and show my message to the world and the people who are looking at me. Besides, I'm the team leader of the peace narrators, and I would like to ask everybody who are here in table round to help us or assist us for some trainings, peace educations, and some virtual sessions for our members, because we are not many experienced. And when we need something new and work together. I know that I'm very young, but I will be very grateful to work with you and having some partnership with your great organizations, and provide my message to all the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your voice and thank you for your work. Pathways to Peace is deeply committed to nuclear disarmament. And so I did put my TESA Pathways to Peace in the chat box. And I always say that age isn't a measure of wisdom. And so your voice is very important. You're very wise, and we're very grateful that you're doing the work. We'd love to support that. And George, I think I'd like you to say just a few words. We have other youth that are deeply involved in this issue as well.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tess. No, I'm a big believer. I mean, I've worked with an organization called Seeds of Peace, which brought in students from India, Pakistan, Rwanda, from all over the world, especially from areas of conflict. And our job was to sort of rebuild them into peace leaders. And that's what we do. It's the training that Pathways to Peace does, that we're taking one now through the Global Mentorship Program, is to provide the training. So reach out to us, and then we will provide you with as much training as we can to give you the opportunity to train. A lot of our training is based on train the trainer, where we want to train you to train others. That's the key. We're working right now with a school in Guinea, I'm sorry, where that staff will now be able to go out and train other schools. And then we're going to basically move into other countries and other schools. And it's just a sort of paid forward type of program. But as Lisa said, that you can't do it in a capsule. It has to go out into the communities. And then the communities have to create that opportunity for more peace. Our role is to support you. That's what we do. This is what peace builders do, to support you in that endeavor in creating peaceful communities. That's why we're here. This is what we're made of. This is This is our genetic DNA. We're here to support you in basically creating more caring communities. So then we all have hope. I remember one student once said to me, a Palestinian student once said to me, don't ever take away my hope for a better day, because if I have nothing to live for, then you're giving me something to die for. I don't want anyone, none of my children, to ever have that in their heart where they feel that they have nothing to live for. Hope, that's our role, to provide you with the tools of hope to create a better, stronger day.
Thank you, George.
Thank you so much.
And thank you. We'll look forward to hearing from you. And so I'm going to put us on gallery view. So let's see if we can unmute everyone here, or ask you to, I guess you can. Yes, you can unmute if you'd like, or raise your hand for us so we can see if you have a question. We have just a little bit of time.
Yeah, I was going to say, Robert, please.
Great.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, David. And thank you to everyone on the call. And it's been an amazing time spent with you guys. You know, I woke up this morning and I didn't really know what the day was going to bring. And that's the beauty and excitement of following your passion and putting, you know, it out in the universe. I met George recently through this serendipitous way, and it's just brought me here. And thank you all, and to the presenters this evening. I do share a lot in common with what you guys have shared, because I've been trudging along on my own path, following my passion, and it's really to give back and help humanity and follow these sustainable development goals the United Nations created a while back. I used to have a boat. I drove my boat out there in the harbor when Greta Thunberg came in, and my friend, this is the screenshot behind me here I'm referring to. So I took that from my boat, and she created the flotilla with the SDG sails, and I was a part of that as well. But I created a company called Think Greener, LLC. And the concept behind that is to give back and find ways to help and give it away so it could grow bigger and bigger. And one thing that I heard tonight that was really beautiful was, it's an obstacle that I face. It's a lot of my solutions that I'm helping to provide relief efforts to are outside of the country. And some of my friends and people say, well, Rob, how come you're not doing something in the United States? You know? So it's like, how do you get funding and support for things that are not so close to your immediate community, but you're helping other communities globally? So that's where I really look to this group here to learn more about ways to help propel my missions that I've been working on. And one of them is the refugees from Ukraine. We've been helping them and supporting them through a shelter in Poland. And then I have two others that I'm really focused on that happen to be both in Uganda. The first one is a reforestation effort where the organization came close to planting 1 million trees last year. And I think Greener was a part of that. So that reforestation campaign has a lot of beautiful things that come along with it. And then the second one in Uganda is empowering the women and children through improved clean cook stoves, which I've learned a lot about and didn't realize that 3 billion people in this world still cook on an open flame stove. And those numbers still baffle me, as well as a lot of these villages, rural villages, don't have electricity. So this scalable pilot project that I'm launching, it's on my website. I'm looking for people to come together through investors, private P3s, just different grants, opportunities. And so those are the three. And thank you for allowing me the time to share a little bit about Think Greener, myself. And I'm just pleased to be here. Thank you, everyone.
Well, we're so glad you're here, Robert. I think I'm going to give the Fred and perhaps David and Lisa your question, but before that, I have to acknowledge my beloved partner Nina Meyerhoff is here, and David and Lisa mentioned her program, which is based in Auschwitz, a reclaimed home that they are now, because the Biermans are involved in that, so it came up earlier. that for refugees. So Nina, I'm so glad to see you here and delighted that you're here. And of course, just so absolutely heart warmed by the work that you're doing. So thank you. And so Robert's question was about how do you get funding when you're doing international, national, and international work, and really local work too, Robert, because you're working with local communities. So where's the funding and the resources? How do you structure that? That was your question, right, Robert? A bit clumsy, but
Yes, Tez, thank
yeah.
you.
Yes.
Well,
Any
I think-
comments?
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Lisa, go ahead.
Just in speaking about it, because we're mostly national. With that said, there are international aspects as well, and that is the real key. You got to keep your eye on the grant cycle, and it's not fun. But there are many in the last 3 or 4 years, I've seen more private small foundations come out in support of peace than I've ever seen before. And so, and we're police to peace. So we're really both. We're federal government oriented and state government oriented and also peace. So keep getting into the grant flow, which is difficult, making sure that your 501c3 is platinum on Charity Navigator. Pay attention to all of those signs, get a donor base. I mean, it's so many things to do. Convene a board, which is a contributing board. It's a lot of work for sure. And then, but if you're international, then you have the opportunity to do things like USAID and other programs that we really don't. And so there are programs out there which are national for international for the types of things you do that you would keep your eye on as well. And then I'll turn it over to Fred, who knows a lot more about the international world than I do.
And after Fred, we can turn it to Rudy, who says he has an answer as well. So Fred?
Well, I'll tell you, there's a lot more for violence than peace in the world in terms of funding. We all know that, but there's one thing that strikes me more and more every single day, and that's that the idea of volunteerism can be stalled by a focus on funding. The idea is that if you're working globally, that each individual group works toward their local donors, their local Rotary clubs and things like that. But I think that we have to tap corporations more than we have before, government grants and foundation grants and things like that. But the idea, and David Wick and I have been working on this quite a bit, the idea of corporations having the responsibility for not only their community, but for the world is becoming a transformative issue at this point. So CSR and ESG and all of those different standards, that's what we have to do. We have to go where the money is, and that is corporations who depend on marketing and public persona. And so I think that's the next step that we need to do. Go to the local corporations, go to the national corporation, international corporations. And I got a feeling that that'll be transformative for the peace movement.
Perfect, thank you. And because we're getting really short on time, Rudy, just a brief response.
Yeah, so Rob, I would recommend, as you want to do these projects internationally, in other locations, connect with a Rotary Club in that area, and you can develop global grants to support these projects that you're working on.
Perfect, thank you. And Marilyn, a brief question, comment?
Yeah, it's just, I think we all face the issue of recognizing how dispirited people are when you try to talk about peace. So I'm really curious in terms of what any of our panelists feel is that they find most inspiring in terms of local global peace that keeps them going energetically. What do you find most inspiring that may inspire the rest of us?
I think, Marilyn, is when we surround ourselves with entities, spiritual entities that we see in front of us today. It's what moves me every day. It's that I know I'm not alone in this field, in this endeavor, And I know that I'm making a difference, and I'm making a difference with a group of spiritual peace brothers and sisters that feel the same way I do, that continue to give me and inspire me. So Marilyn, it's an idea that I'm inspired by you, I'm inspired by Tez, and I want my students to be inspired by what I do to continue this message going forward. So I think that's this circle of peace that we're part of, that I couldn't see myself not being a part of something like this. And of course, again, as you know, this is what we do because this is what we need to do. And it's very important that we continue to give our voice to the world and to those voices that do remain silent.
Yes, thank you, George. And Nina has her hand up, and I'm going to give you the last little bit, Nina, just because. You're muted. There you are.
Thank you. Thank you. I wanted to say this year I spent a lot of time on raising money and was successful. And what I learned, first of all, I did 4 GoFundMes, yeah, because that's an immediate response and it triggers other people. We added videos, etc., to make it alive and working, but it worked well. Grants, take a long time and they need formidable papers, etc., etc. Just, the other part that I learned about fundraising this time more than ever before is you need an emotional basis for it. It can't be lofty ideas. It has to be something that touches the heart and makes people want to stand up and respond. So if you can put it in that kind of order. And what makes me move ahead is the understanding that life has meaning. And yeah, we are more than just our physical bodies and our emotional bodies and our mental bodies. We are spiritual beings walking this planet, and we have a purpose, and that is to serve all of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. So in closing, I would like to give each of our speakers, we're running a little over, but we'll be done in 5 minutes. Give each of our speakers an opportunity to give one last comment that you'd like to leave the audience with. Who'd like to go first? Maybe I'll just call on you, Lisa.
Well, I think I said it, and so
yes,
we're fixing the problem that vexes America is one of violence, which crops up, and we address police culture. Because as I mentioned in my presentation, you can't, no law or policy would have changed this. It comes from changing hearts. And so, but I am heartened because years ago, the response that we saw on Friday to Tyree Nichols might not have been the case. It was not the case, I can actually say. And now it is. And as we grow towards peace, and peace is not just the absence of violence, as we all know, it's many more things, right? It's sustainability, that it can be done. I actually feel emotional that the country is getting behind this, and the police are as well. So it's real change, a change that some people thought would never happen.
thank you, Lisa. How about you, Fred? Any last comment?
Yeah, I think we need to raise peace to a new level, a strategic level, a level of professionalism that has been missing over the years, a level of sophistication and respect for ourselves and respect for others. We need to upgrade the peace movement, and we need to understand that it is the best industry in the world and the best governance in the world and the best economics in the world. So peace people, stand up, be proud.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for that. And David?
Well, I would say one that I also had mentioned about just being bold. This is not a time to be shrinking and stepping back. It's really about being bold, that we have the inspiration and just go for it, stepping out. The other is, I really, I believe and also know from experience that we're in a major evolution in consciousness. This is not just dealing with, the everyday make things better, but there's a whole shift that is taking place. So it's really trusting our intuition, trusting our urges, if you want to call it inner guidance, because it counts.
Yes. Thank you, David. And George.
Again, I'm passionate about what I do and getting the skills to the young people so they can sort of build better communities. I'll quote Frederick Douglass, one of my favorite quotes, which is, without struggle, there can be no progress. We learn from our struggles. We overcome because of our struggles, but we continue to forge on to go forward because we all have hope that what we do is right and what we do is what we need to do to build a better community going forward so we all can benefit. And when we build together and we learn together and we understand each other and we focus on what we have to do, we can build a better world. And that's why we do what we do.
Yes. And peace prevails on earth. Thank you, thank you, thank you to our presenters, my partners. So absolutely delighted for your wisdom here. And thank you for our guests, our audience. Each one of you is a pathway to peace. And that's what I would close with, is that at Pathways to Peace, we say that each of us is a pathway to peace. Doesn't matter where you've come from, what you're doing today, or what your hopes are for the future. You are a pathway to peace. And we love and appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your work for peace in our world. It means everything.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Thanks to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And peace prevails on earth. Let's say it. And
May-
Peace,
peace
prevail on earth.
on earth. Thank you.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm humbled.
Bye. Thank you.